What up? Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about crowdfunding, and specifically today, we're getting to how WeFunder works. So WeFunder is an equity crowdfunding website that's out there. And in this video, I'm gonna go in depth into how the website or the platform works. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a creator trying to raise capital for a new startup, you're gonna discover how in this video and really the nitty gritty of how this platform works. And it's coming up right after this. All right, man, so let's get into this. I am excited to talk about this topic because I really do believe that not only is WeFunder the future, but honestly, this is something that's gonna completely redefine the way in which entrepreneurs raise capital, and they're starting to no longer go through like a VC, right? Or needing to go through a major intermediary. They can actually go directly to the crowd, which is super cool, right? Which is awesome. And really, this is a form, like I said, of equity crowdfunding. So first of all, I think we should start with who this is for, right? And who this video is really designed for. So in terms of how WeFunder works, I'm really gearing this, first of all, towards startups. If you have a startup company, if you are an entrepreneur, we're just gonna say E, or you're a small business owner, you already, for example, run a business. There are many different stages when it comes to a WeFunder campaign, which we'll be talking about. Small business owners, entrepreneurs, creative types, innovators, really anyone. I've seen so many different types of campaigns raise money successfully on WeFunder. For example, on my podcast, the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast, I've had on individuals who have raised over 100,000 for films on WeFunder. I've had people who raise money for software companies on WeFunder. I've had people who raise money for microbreweries on WeFunder. I have people who raise money for a new restaurant using equity crowdfunding. So go and listen to my podcast. There are so many examples of people being successful in many different areas when it comes to physical products, when it comes to even bigger products. For example, someone invented a new electric car and I interviewed them. They had a campaign on WeFunder. And not only that, but people are doing multiple rounds. So really interesting. So again, this would be startups, entrepreneurs, small businesses, and investors. One other quick note I'm gonna say here is that this falls under the realm of what's called equity crowdfunding. Equity crowdfunding is different from things like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Kickstarter and Indiegogo, you always wanna think about what are the duties that are attached to the money which I'm going to be raising. If you're doing like a Kickstarter or Indiegogo, you have to have people that actually back the campaign, and once they do, they're gonna get the product delivered to them at some point in the future. It's kind of like a pre-order. When people are participating in equity crowdfunding, they're actually becoming an investor in your company. So if you're running an equity crowdfunding campaign, and let's just say you raise $1 million on WeFunder, like many of the companies that I've had on my podcast, you are basically getting investors who are becoming a piece or becoming a part of your company. Okay, so let's get into a couple of different decision criteria when it comes to this. So first of all, what I wanna talk about is what goes into a campaign. So sort of a campaign, what kind of goes into that? I also wanna cover another topic when it comes to the stages of that campaign. I wanna talk about you and sort of the stage that you might be in. And then I wanna talk about more of the marketing. And sort of throughout all of this, I think we need to as well be covering the platform itself. It's really hard to write and speak at the same time when it comes to making these videos. So the platform, WeFunder, the marketing, you as an entrepreneur, right? I think this is really critically important. What kind of companies are a good stage for this? The campaign itself, the stages. So let's start with you, okay? I think that you is actually one of the more important components when it comes to the venture, because at the end of the day, that's what a startup company is. That's what any company is. This is made up of the teammates that are actually behind that company. So this is you, okay? There are different stages when it comes to you and this idea which you're implementing or raising money for. So the first that usually starts off is the idea. So the idea stage is where you have an idea and you're like, you know what? I wanna start a company around this. I have seen people successfully raise money at the idea stage when it comes to WeFunder. However, many of them do have some kind of traction when it comes to a prototype that they can show investors, or something like the beginnings of users that are maybe using their software tool, or a little bit of revenue when it comes to start. However, I have seen people start at the idea stage when it comes to this process. An idea, though, is not enough. You're eventually then going to need to put this into a different form. You're gonna have to take this out of your head, out of your beautiful brain, and put this into something like a pitch deck or slides, okay? And this is what I help with usually when it comes to different agency clients or coaching clients. You're gonna need to take the idea, put that into a pitch deck. You're also gonna need to take this idea and form a business plan. So I'm just gonna say BP. Business plan is really about the unique selling point, the market size, the target market you're going after, how much you need to raise, the milestones, projection cash flows that you might have in the future, your technology, even your intellectual property, who's part of the team, all the things that go into the business plan. You wanna think of the pitch deck as kind of like a sexy business plan. You wanna think of it that way, right? A business plan is like really dry, really boring, right? Pitch deck is more of like, ooh, this thing is like designed to sell. This kind of leaps off the page to a degree, and it really goes over the high level points. In addition to this, once you have the idea stage, then you're typically executing. So along with idea, right, you then have other people who have product market fit. This is a stage in business. We'll just say product market fit. And this might be kind of designed, we would say users, or you might have customers, or you might have traffic. These are people who have an idea, have executed upon that idea, and they have a website, or they have something like an app, or they have the initial prototype, or they have initial location when it comes to an individual location. Right? There's some way in which they've actually shown execution. And throughout these stages, you might also be assembling a little bit when it comes to a team. So I see a lot of people in the product market fit stage as well that are doing successful WeFunder campaigns, and it becomes a little bit easier and the valuation becomes bigger because again, you're showing that you can actually execute upon this initial idea, which is a lot of risk when it ties to that. So in terms of who can use it, idea stage, you're gonna need to get to at least this stage to be able to run a campaign. You're gonna also need some other stuff that we'll talk about in a little bit. Product market fit, this is actually a really great stage because then you have things like email lists, you have social media, maybe even you have people that are reviewing the product, you're getting good testimonials. This is an easier stage when it comes to running the actual campaign. And finally, if you come down here, you then have people that are in the market, I would say. What do I mean by in the market? Typically, I would say someone who is generating sales, or maybe they've already raised money before from seed or angel investors, or even a small VC or something like that, right? Usually more so along the angel investment side. They're having lots of traction and users. Maybe they even have raised capital before, right? And they're kind of growing when it comes to the company operations. And typically, if they're in the market, they also have more team members, right, that are actually a part of this venture. So maybe you have the CEO, you have someone who's doing a little bit of accounting, you have some maybe on the marketing side, or if you don't, you're considering that, or you have some people that are helping you with sales. So these are the typical beginning stages when it comes to a WeFunder campaign. And then you have more of like the mega stage. So the mega stage is someone who already has a growing business. They already have product market fit, they're already in the market, they already have equity or capital that they've raised in the past, and they're a significantly growing business, right? So this is really when they're in the scaling phase, and they're going to be using the funding to really scale out the operations, okay? This is kind of when we get into who can actually use WeFunder, and I'll talk about that in just a second. We'll just say that this is more like in the scaling phase. This is when you're actually more so thinking about like, oh, we're going to eventually be doing a VC round very quickly, right? Here's our runway, here's how we're going. Like things are really starting to heat up when it comes to the scaling phase. Typically there's a lot of people, right? When it comes to the team, this is a very important endeavor, right? When it comes to this, and again, there's scaling, they're seeing a lot of growth when it comes to that and in this particular stage. Okay, so we talked about the people component, the you, right? And I think that this is, again, one of the most important components is really starting with where you are, who you are, and how you can use a tool like equity crowdfunding. Let's talk a tiny bit now about the platform, all right? So when it comes to the platform, I think that this is one of the most misunderstood components, right? When it comes to doing an equity crowdfunding campaign, raising money on WeFunder, this is one of the most misunderstood components. So first of all, this is at the time that I'm recording this video, and this might change. The SEC might change their rules as they are usually, known for doing. The SEC always has different things that they're changing around. So first of all, in terms of today, the limit when it comes to raising money is 5 million. You can raise upwards of 5 million in a 12-month period using regulation crowdfunding. Regulation crowdfunding is the securities exemption that allows you to raise money using equity crowdfunding, or Reg CF, as is also known. This is the regulation, again, that allows you to raise money from strangers around the world using equity crowdfunding, upwards of 5 million in a 12-month period. Now, you could run multiple campaigns throughout the year if you wanted to, and companies do that. Or year after year, you could actually go back and you could raise more money from the crowd. So that's the first distinction when it comes to how WeFunder works, is understanding how much you can actually raise. In addition, when it comes to understanding how WeFunder works, the security exemption resolution crowdfunding, understanding what you can do when you raise money under this particular regulation. So there are certain things. One is called general solicitation. So this is different than other forms of raising money because in certain ways, in certain types of raising money, you can't actually broadcast the fact that you're raising money. It's not a public raise, it's a private raise. With regulation crowdfunding, it is a public raise, meaning you could advertise this. You could post it on social media. I could go out on my balcony here, which is a beautiful balcony with an amazing view in Miami. And I could be like, guys, I am raising money for my company. If I wanted to, I could have billboards or I could have signs, which I put on my deck here, right? You could literally have an air horn and you could say, you are raising money. Go and check out my campaign on WeFunder. So general solicitation is a really important part of regulation crowdfunding. And when it comes to that, and the other thing is that you can raise money from both accredited, so I'm gonna say AC, or non-accredited investors. Now, what does that mean? Accredited investors are typically high net worth individuals. They usually have $1 million or more net worth. They're making good cash money, probably over 250K per year, or thereabouts. You can go look up the actual definitions when it comes to that. I actually have a video on that as well. Or non-accredited investors are basically everyday, ordinary retail investors. They're mom and pop stores. They're blue collar workers. They're people who are white collar workers. Doesn't matter, right? They can actually invest in this WeFunder campaign. And that's what makes it gosh darn so freaking special, is that you can actually get normal people to become an investor in your company, which we'll be talking about more as well in a little bit. So the first thing you should know, again, is that you can raise $5 million in a 12-month period. You're using regulation crowdfunding. That's in terms of how WeFunder works when you're raising money. General solicitation, you can broadcast this sucker. You can get retail investors actually investing in your startup round. In terms of WeFunder and the way that it works, the first thing is that you're going to set a duration for which you are raising this money, and also a funding goal. So what does that mean? That means that when you run a campaign, you're gonna go through a certain duration where you go live, okay, this is live. You're gonna run this sucker for a certain amount of time. A lot of my clients are doing this for 60 days, for 90 days. You could technically keep it open for even longer if you wanted to, or even a little bit shorter, right? But I would say we'll just say 90 days, okay? And this might change in the future depending on the median and different marketing practices, but we'll say around 90 days, you're gonna keep this sucker live where people can actually invest in your actual campaign or in your company, in your startup round. You're then also setting a funding goal. This is a monetary amount that you are trying to raise, and you could surpass this. However, important thing is that depending on how much you're raising, it's going to also play into some of your different requirements when it comes to reporting, specifically on the financial side. So that's goes beyond the scope of this video. We're more so talking about how WeFunder works. So you're gonna launch this campaign, you're gonna promote this, and you're gonna go through a couple different campaign phases, which I'll get into a little bit. But you have a duration, you have a funding goal, you have certain rules, the amount you can actually raise, and certain as well, things that you can do, some certain powers, if you will, if you are raising money using WeFunder. The last point I wanna make on the platform itself, before we talk more about sort of the specifics, are going to be that in exchange for doing this, there's going to be what's called a platform fee that they charge in order to allow you to do this. And also there's going to be things like templates that help you along the way. And they also have an investor community. I'm just gonna say ICOM, investor community. So they're gonna take a platform fee of the amount that's raised. There are templates to help you along the way. And there's an investor community that's gonna be actually strangers that you've never met before who typically will invest in regulation crowdfunding campaigns just like this. If you hit certain milestones, they might even be willing to run ads on behalf of you when it comes to that platform. But you have to check with them. And I'll include some more resources down below, a free course I have on equity crowdfunding with most updated information as a link in the description, and also maybe a blog post that kind of goes more in depth into some of the information here. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. Okay, so we went a bit here over the platform. We went a little bit over you. I think it's really important that we talk about the campaign next, because this is really like, what do you need in order to do this, right? So you're trying to raise under $5 million. You're willing to broadcast and market this. You're trying to raise money from not only accredited, but also non-accredited investors. You're willing to follow the rules, right? When it comes to the platform itself, WeFunder, give away a certain percentage of fee when it comes to the amount that you're raising, run it over a certain duration, and you have a certain funding goal. What the heck do you need when it comes to an actual campaign? So let's cover that next. So when you are doing an equity crowdfunding campaign, there are a couple of different elements which you're going to have to think about. So I'm gonna try to make this as visual as possible because honestly, dude, I get really bored when I'm listening to lectures and I always hated attending school. I always felt like it didn't teach me the things that are really gonna help me in the real world. So when I started this YouTube channel, when I started my business, CrowdCrux, started putting out podcasts, interviewing real world entrepreneurs, I've written 10 books in the industry. When I started doing this, it was my goal to make this more interesting for y'all, right? To try to make this more comprehensive and in a fun, interesting way. So that being said, let's really try to visualize this. So what are some of the things that you're gonna need? I'm gonna create a little bit of a checklist here. So the first thing that you're gonna need, a pitch deck. Okay, this is one of the things that I help with entrepreneurs, assembling basically a bunch of different high quality slides that get investors interested in their campaign. This is usually drawn from something like a business plan, but not always. Some of the clients I work with don't have business plans. We need to then get really good information that you could actually then convince investors. The other thing you're gonna need is you're going to need a video. Now I have people all the time, they book a one-on-one individual coaching call with me and they're like, Sal, I went through your free course or I bought your book, Equity Crowdfunding Explained. I know you said that you have to have a video, but guess what? I came across this one campaign, it doesn't have a video and it raised like $2 million. And I'm like, great, that's awesome. There are people out there every single week that are raising millions of dollars using equity crowdfunding that don't have a video. But I'm here to teach best practices. And the majority of campaigns that are raising money successfully are doing it with a video. So why gamble? It's so freaking easy nowadays to put together a video. It might cost you a couple $1,000, right? Or there are different ways that you can actually get it even for cheaper. But a video, my gosh, this is such, like, it's making your campaign leap off the page. You're scrolling on Instagram, you see video. You're scrolling on Facebook, you see video. You scroll on TikTok, you see video. It makes sense. It causes an emotional spike that gets people excited about something. So video, again, you gotta have a video. So typically that video might be even on the shorter side, maybe even like 3 minutes. I'd say max 5 minutes. And it's really just going through the pitch. It's getting people excited, warmed up to the problem, the solution, the market size, the potential. Why is this unique? Why is this something that should exist in the world, right? The video is kind of what sells the actual campaign and the investment, the people, the cause. Maybe this is for even higher order reasons why someone might consider investing in your campaign. In addition to the video, the cool thing about WeFunder and the way that WeFunder works is you can actually provide perks, also known as gifts, to your investors. These are also called rewards. So we're just gonna use the word perks. This would be where, for example, let's just say that I'm running a new startup company and I'm like, yo, you can invest in this new, yogurt stand, which I'm making, right? And if you invest like $2,000, I'll give you free yogurt for the next 2 years, right? Or you can have like a catering option or something like that, right? These perks are, if someone decides to invest at certain amounts, we'll just say starting at $100, we'll say $500, we'll say $1,000. You might, depending on your product or service, or even just a dinner, invitation to a Zoom call, a mastermind, a membership community, it could be anything, right? You can actually invite them to participate at different levels or in different ways. So let's just say they invest $1,000, maybe you invite them to a breakfast with your founders and they can actually share some of their own thoughts about the industry. Maybe they're part of the industry, one of the reasons why they're investing. Or maybe it's something more related. They get a license of the tool which you're creating, if it's a software tool or something like that, right? Or maybe if they're investing in a film for $1,000, they get some kind of a credit, right? When the credits are rolling at the end of the film. So think about that. You can have perks or gifts when people actually invest in this WeFunder campaign. The next thing you're gonna need campaign page. So what is the campaign page? To be honest, dude, when I see marketing, a lot of the times I just think the same thing. And that's, my gosh, so much repetition. But there's a reason behind that. If you actually study marketing, and I spent my entire career studying digital marketing, in-person marketing, I've literally studied like old school advertisements, print advertisements. Like, to me, this is like what I love and breathe. This is like my passion, right? Something that I enjoy doing. Campaign page. This is really about repetition. Repetition is what gets someone not only thinking about something, but creating an impression and really begins to move them forward in making a decision. It also makes them feel much more comfortable and warmed up and familiar. What you need here is you basically need extensive copy, graphics, pictures, designs, all that kind of stuff. Think of this as like your pitch deck almost on steroids, right? It's like a souped up version of your pitch deck. You know, I talked about earlier, the business plan is like one of the most boring pieces out there, one of those things you gotta put together, right? It's like, I don't wanna do it, but I gotta do it, right? As an entrepreneur, as this person like myself who loves creating new companies and working with new products and all that kind of stuff, like I love just selling and marketing and making people money and stuff like that. But a pitch deck, this is kind of like the sexy version, right, of the actual business plan. You think of the campaign page, it's almost like a souped up version of even that further. Okay, so it's really designed to sizzle, sell this, steak by having that sizzle, getting people excited, really having comprehensive information, making it so that anyone sees the value of investing in your startup company. So that's the other thing that you're gonna need is a campaign page. You're probably also gonna have some other ones as well. For example, FAQs. You're gonna have some updates, which you will have and be posting throughout the actual duration of the campaign. And then you have more things that kind of fall more into the marketing side. But the last thing I'll mention is that you're gonna also have, and this is a very important point when it comes to doing an equity crowdfunding campaign, or WeFunder specifically, is you're gonna have financials. And these are gonna be public for people to see. So people are gonna be able to see who else has invested, how much you've raised, they're gonna be able to see your revenue, all that kind of stuff. And some people are like, oh no, Sal, what happens if I don't have revenue, right? What happens if I'm a pre-revenue stage, right? As I covered before, there's a lot of people who run companies within that pre-revenue stage here, and there are many different stages, like I said here, in which they're actually raising money. So whether that's the idea stage, I'm sorry, this is sticking here, product market fits, or the in-market or scaling. So these are different stages. Probably not going to have to turn this because this is getting a little bit strange here in the way that this is sticking here. So we went over a lot of different elements here when it comes to the campaign page, the stages we haven't yet gone through. Marketing is something I want to touch on. So in the next 2 slides, I really want to go through stages and marketing. And if you've made it to this point in the video, this is a longer video, give me a thumbs up. Let me know that you enjoy this. Let me know that you want more information. Go and check out my free course on equity crowdfunding, which goes through this in-depth, everything that you need to know. And if you really want to get more expertise, you can book an individual one-on-one coaching call with me at the link down below. If you're not interested in doing that yet, you can also go and check out my book, Equity Crowdfunding Explained, available on Amazon, on Audible. Audible has a free version. You can go to crowdcrux.com/equity audio. I'll include a link down below. You get a free version of the book, man, which is like, great deal if you get a free version, 30-day trial of Audible. So let's get into some of these next ones, and we're gonna cover that in the next piece when it comes to this video. Okay, so the last section of this video in terms of how WeFunder works really goes into the stages of a campaign and the marketing. And I know this is a lot of information, right? But I really want to arm you with the tools that you need to make important decisions, right? Whether you're a founder, you're a marketer, you're a CEO, you're someone out there, even like an investor or something like that, you're just learning more about this. I really want to make this worth your while and worth your time. So we're going to break this down into 2 different components, okay? So the first one is going to be more so on the campaign stages. The second is going to be on the marketing. Now, obviously, I run a company myself. Not only do I do business coaching, we also have a digital marketing agency. I also have a personal brand where we create different educational products and courses and programs and live group coaching, like all that kind of stuff, right? So I'm very aware of the way that different things sync up. And it's kind of the way you have to think about it when you're running one of these campaigns. So you have different stages with the campaign, and with each stage, you also have different marketing, which is happening behind the scenes. So let's first start when it comes to the campaign stage. We'll say pre-WeFunder. We went over how WeFunder works, which is that you can raise upwards of $5 million in a 12-month period. You can do this from everyday ordinary Americans. You can do general solicitation. You can market the sucker. You can advertise it if you want to, but that only happens once you are live on the platform. So what's happening before you're live? So a lot of the WeFunder, you have a funding goal, you have a funding duration. What happens before you go live with WeFunder is really assembling the assets. So this could be things, for example, like pulling together the pitch video, putting together the video, putting together the campaign page, putting together the perks, rewards, thinking about the valuation of the company, thinking as well about what piece you're gonna give away, what contract you're gonna use when you are raising money on WeFunder, for example, using a crowd safe model or doing a priced round or a convertible note. There are many different types of ways of raising money on WeFunder. You're gonna be assembling the assets of the campaign. You're gonna be deciding on the type of contract, the investment contract, and more like nitty gritty, we'll say financial kind of information. You'll be working as well to provide company information to WeFunder itself. And lastly, you'll be kind of just buttoning things up and making sure that when people actually come to this, they understand the value of investing in your company. Now, that's a lot of the work that I do, is like positioning you in the right way. Some people come to me and they're trying to sell something and trying to get people excited about it, and they're doing it in literally the driest manner possible. It's almost like they're describing like, oh, do you want to eat at this restaurant where you can have a burger and fries and a Diet Coke, and this is a really great restaurant, right? Versus talking about the way that this sirloin burger sizzles and is so juicy when you bite into it, made from the finest Wagyu beef from these cows that are hand massaged in fields around the United States, living the most wonderful lives, and how incredibly herb encrusted these French fries are, made from the finest organic potatoes, made from Idaho, that we took all the way from there and brought straight to your dinner table, served directly to you from one of our waiters who, is an expert in all of these different things, paired with a great hearty lager beer, right? Like, that sounds nice. So there's two ways of saying something, right? There's two ways of framing an actual pitch. And a lot of this is going to be about deciding how you're going to be framing your offer. So on the marketing side, you're going to be doing other things. You're going to be doing other things, for example, like thinking about your investor communication. You're going to be putting together templates probably, or working off the templates of whoever you're working with. You're going to be doing other things as well when it comes to really answering questions, maybe of like a high net worth individual, that kind of stuff. And finally, I just say building broadcast strategy. What is the strategy? You have different levels when it comes to marketing. So you start off with strategy, right? What are your objectives? What are your goals? What are you trying to do? What is the strategy? The way in which you're going to try to reach those objectives. Then a layer down, what are the tactics? What are the actual specific day-by-day activities which are going to be in line with that strategy, which then achieve those objectives. It's kind of like a pyramid, if you want to think of it that way. And then you can get even more, a little bit nitty gritty, like what are some of the other stakeholders, right? There's a lot more that goes into marketing besides just that. Once you do all of that, you then get into what I call the test the waters phase. So this is also a term, a legal term. So test the waters. This is really where you, as a company founder or as a company here, just to make a little bit of separation so y'all can see what I'm talking about here. Test the waters. This is really where you're getting things like, it's called reservations of interest. Okay, so we're gonna say reservation. People are basically saying, I want to invest in this. Let me know when it's live. And the reason why companies will do this is to make sure that they're not wasting their time when it comes to running an equity crowdfunding campaign. And there's a certain number of reservations of interest you need to get to really get to the next piece of the puzzle. So a lot of this is getting reservations of interest. And this, for the most part, is then going to be a part of the marketing side. So we're just going to say that this continues over here. Okay, this is my wonderful drawing skills, right? The reason why I never passed art class is test the waters. We got reservations of interest. What you're doing is you're doing basically outreach, and you're securing this. You're doing phone calls, right? You're doing all that kind of stuff in order to get enough interest in the actual investment so that then you can go into the next stage, which is live. So I'm not going to go too in depth in this. I got, again, a free course that goes step by step through how to actually do one of these WeFunder or equity crowdfunding campaigns. I have a great book out there as well, Equity Crowdfunding Explained. So I got a lot of information. You can always book an individual one-on-one coaching call as well. So we got the test the waters. Let's move into the next stage. This is when you are live. Now, a lot of this is really going to be on the marketing side. You kind of shift from putting together lots of different little pieces of the puzzle to then being much more about broadcast marketing. It really does pay off so much when you've really thought about the marketing strategy when you are live. So what are some of the quick things here that you're going to do when you're live? You might be doing things, for example, like broadcasts on social media. You could do email marketing. You could do direct outreach. You could do LinkedIn. You could do ads. There's a lot that you can do, even when WeFunder itself, as well as a marketplace, if you've done it right, you can actually trigger their algorithm as well to begin to deliver rivers of investors to your campaign, an avalanche of traffic, which is really freaking cool. So when you're live, you really transition into more so this phase. So at this point in the video, this might seem a little bit overwhelming, right? But at least at this point, you have an idea of how WeFunder works for entrepreneurs, creators, and innovators. You can use this tool to raise money online from people all over the globe who are everyday, ordinary, non-accredited investors. In addition, you're running a campaign for a specific duration of time. You have a certain funding goal, which you're trying to get to or exceed. You might have perks or rewards, which you're giving away to people if they invest, let's say like $1,000 or $5,000. What this allows you to do is to not only have a community of, let's just say 500 investors who all put in $1,000 a pop, so you raise 500K. Not only that, for your initial startup funding round or your second startup funding round, but you then get evangelists who are investing because they believe in the cause, they believe in your mission, they like the product, they like the service. Maybe they just want to see this company be successful in a larger way. Maybe they like your business plan or the market, right? Or your solution. They are so freaking bought in, and they financially gain if your company does well. If you sell it in the future, if you do an IPO, you're acquired, like I said before, you can have these people who are evangelists that are then sharing your company, your messages on their social media. You're using the crowd not only to partner with you in terms of investing, but also to reach their network, to get referrals even of people who maybe want to do business with you. So there are so many benefits, right, when it comes to doing a WeFunder campaign. And I hope that at this point in the video, you have more clarity of how WeFunder works. They're providing this platform for you where you can then bring the video, the pitch deck, the campaign page, the marketing, right, to jumpstart the kind of algorithm when it comes to the WeFunder marketplace. And they're providing this opportunity for you to have this megaphone in front of their users and to be able to broadcast this through general solicitation of regulation crowdfunding. And if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, intriguing to you, and you're in one of the different stages that I mentioned, I think it's really worth really investing more of your time in understanding this, because I'm telling you, every single week I'm covering, bringing real world entrepreneurs on my podcast, and they're sharing with you exactly what they're doing behind the scenes to raise 6 and 7 figures on WeFunder. This is an incredible opportunity. And even though you might see VC funding is decreasing, it doesn't matter, because again, you're drawing from the crowd. We're not talking about a middleman here. So not only that, but you can also do multiple campaigns. I've seen this. I've had guys on my show who are doing multiple raises, who have raised millions of dollars. They'll raise money on WeFunder, money on Start Engine, right? Go to Republic. You can go from platform to platform to platform, raise multiple rounds, and do this over a course of years to fuel your company into the future. How cool is that? We live in the most exciting times. And if you want to start this journey off right, number 1, go and check out my free course on WeFunder. Number 2, book an individual coaching call with me if this is something that you want to explore for your company and really ignite a fire underneath your startups. You can then take those funds and you can allocate that to marketing. You can allocate that to HR cost. You can allocate that to other things as well when it comes to promotion, or maybe even upgrading your tech stack, upgrading the tools, and maybe even hiring salespeople, right? There's so many ways in which you can use these funds. So I hope that you found this in-depth video to be helpful and useful. Give me a thumbs up if you did. Come subscribe to this channel if you want more content like this. But again, my name is Salvador Briggman, and I will see you next time.